The sevenfold chord of being in Sri Aurobindo's The Life Divine, chapter 27. Hello, this is Chris speaking, Shores of Infinity, with another video about Sri Aurobindo's The Life Divine. Last time we talked about substance, matter, consciousness. This time about the sevenfold chord of being, which is a nice summary. This chapter, as we are nearing the end of the first book of the Life Divine, Sri Aurobindo starts with a nice summary of everything he has expounded upon beforehand. Firstly, he starts with the biune principle, the double principle of unity and multiplicity. Everything in the creation of the world is both unity and multiplicity and goes from unity towards multiplicity, which is called involution, and from multiplicity towards unity, which is called evolution. But both are aspects of the same thing, which is the supermind unfolding. And the supermind is the vehicle of Satchitananda in its expression of creation. Many people are asking, what is the supermind? What is Sri Aurobindo talking about when he uses this word supermind? In the last video I explained there is the body, the life, the mind, the supermind, Satchitananda and spirit. Satchitananda and the supermind, they are the tools of the divine in expressing itself in life and matter. There's even a very nice kind of definition of the supermind. The supermind is the divine gnosis, which creates, governs, and upholds the worlds. It is the secret wisdom which upholds both our knowledge and our ignorance. So the supermind is both absolute knowledge and absolute ignorance. You remember, the world only works because the supermind loses itself in self-forgetfulness, or apparent self-forgetfulness of being the one and only. And the supermind is expressing itself in four categories: matter, life, mind, and soul. Matter is the form Satchitananda assumes when it subjects itself to its own consciousness and force. Life is the power, the force, which Satchitananda assumes, or the energy which Satchitananda assumes in creation. And mind is the limited form of the supermind. Mind is supermind in forgetfulness, in division and multiplicity, not remembering its oneness. And then the fourth aspect, or fourth principle, is the soul, which is the nodus, the center, the focal point, the focus, the hinge, of all other three, of mind, life, and body, or matter. And the soul has a double aspect, a double appearance. Firstly, in the forefront, the desire soul, which wants possession and delight. It wants to have things. It wants to possess things that seem desirable, which seem enjoyable. That's the one half of the soul, and the other half of the soul is what Sri Aurobindo calls the psychic being or psychic entity, which is what others sometimes call the true self, which is where the divine stores the experiences of the being. The soul is a projection and action of the bliss part of Satchitananda. The universal self-delight in experiencing itself as not the unity, as multiplicity, as an aspect, as a plant, as a stone, as an animal, as a human being, as a gas, whatever. So matter or body, life or energy, and the psychic being or the soul, they are limited aspects of Satchitananda, of existence, consciousness, force, bliss. While the mind is a limited aspect of the supermind. Satchitananda is only a potential of the three divine main powers that create the possibility of a world. Well, the supermind is already the action. The divine, he says, descends from pure existence through the play of consciousness, force, bliss. And for that it needs a creative medium, and this medium is the supermind. So it's a descent, it's an involution. The divine descends through Satchitananda and the supermind into the lower faculties of multiplicity, which are matter, energy, or life, mind, and soul. But Satchitananda is infinite. Existence, consciousness, bliss is infinite and omnipotent and omniscient. So it doesn't necessarily need to create multiplicity and forgetfulness and a world or several worlds, who knows. But if it wants to, it needs a fourth agent, which is the supermind. The supermind is, so to say, the prime minister of Satchitananda. It is the will to do things, the will to action. Not the will to power, as Nietzsche has misunderstood it, but the will to action. It is, as Sri Aurobindo puts it, the immortal and infinite seer and ruler of the universe. It is the cosmic law and the real idea, what Plato and Socrates talked about, the world of ideas, which exists before everything comes into life and matter. Or the Wuji of the Chinese. Before the Taiji, there's the Wuji, the great nothingness, which is before time and existence and matter. According to the Vedas, the three highest names, hidden names of the nameless, of the Tao, as the Chinese put it, that which cannot be named, the highest principle. The three highest names are Satchitananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. And then there's a fourth name, which is very difficult to translate. And many Indian philosophers have translated it into something like supermind. And the supermind is where the descent of the divine and the ascent of the creation meet. This is again the hinge between unity and multiplicity. And that is also why mind and the mental world are so important. The mental world is a limited aspect of the supramental. And everything else follows. So matter and energy follow the mental world. And to really realize this is what we call enlightenment. And for that we have a mental body also. We have 3 or 4 bodies, so to say. We have the gross body, the subtle or vital body, the mental body, and the soul. Always there are the gross body and the soul. But what we have to develop and get used to are the vital body and the mental body. To start developing the vital body is what I call awakening, and to start developing the mental body is what I call enlightenment. And this is very similar to Sri Aurobindo's and Meher Baba's view, only that they didn't use the term awakening. For them, the really interesting thing starts only with the mental body, that is enlightenment. Because the vital body is just playing around with energies. But once you get to the mental body and the mental world, you see reality as much as it is possible for a human being to see, because the mental is a limited form of the supramental. But when Sri Aurobindo uses the term mind or mental, he doesn't mean the usual mind that we use, or at least not how we usually use it. Mind is our most precious instrument, and we use it to make all kinds of toys to distract ourselves, like cell phones and computers and atomic weapons and whatnot, airplanes, cars, submarines. But what we actually could use it for is to see reality, is our divine destiny, is our ascent towards consciousness, the science of yoga, and the vision of Superman, not the Marvel figure, but another kind of human being. We have the divine spark within us, we just have to do something with it, something divine. Well, we're doing it, we're already playing God, but in a destructive way. What if we use this power in a non-destructive way? What if we kindle this spark and make a fire of real wisdom? The greater truth of the supermind is trying to descend towards us. All we have to do is reach out towards it so that we can ascend. So the sevenfold chord of being or existence are the three lower qualities: matter, life, and mind. Then we have the supermind, then we have Sat, Chit, and Ananda. And we have this focal point, this hinge of the psychic being, of the soul. And now you probably think, okay, this is all well and good, but what about this ignorance part? This is also something that Sri Aurobindo mentions, that he has more or less left it out or didn't go into detail about that. Why the heck is all this ascension and descension and unity and multiplicity only possible with this terrible ignorance? This fall from knowledge, this fall from paradise, this fall from the supramental truth, this division of matter and consciousness. Why do we need the supramental and the soul to hold everything together? Why is it not just one big, nice paradise? Why is there Maya? Why is there this illusion and delusion? Why is it necessary? It is necessary because this spirit, this thing that cannot be named, that really cannot be named, that is behind everything, the true oneness, this true infinite, it can do everything except one thing: not be conscious. It cannot not be itself. But since it's everything, this must be somehow possible. So this whole creation is the experiment, how it feels for the absolute consciousness to not be conscious. It's the one thing it's incapable of, but it tries anyway. And we are the experiment. And for this experiment to work, it needs a concentration. It needs a concentration of all these principles we talked about: matter, life, mind, supermind, consciousness, bliss, existence, force. and especially mind. It needs to concentrate all this, and then a partial forgetfulness, a partial unconsciousness, inconsciousness, a partial ignorance and stupidity is possible. And we as human beings are smack in the middle of this. Thank you to all my patrons. Thank you for joining me as a patron. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for sharing the videos with your friends, and see you soon.